Arthur dropped their travel-worn bags by the door with a thud, signaling the end of another wild escapade. The apartment, with its eclectic mix of thrift store finds and souvenirs from adventures past, seemed to welcome them back with open arms, or at least with the familiar scent of the old coffee maker. Jeff, still in his dusty cowboy hat, drifted through the room, his presence more like a light-hearted specter than a weary traveler. "I miss it already, Arthur," he sighed, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "The wide-open skies, the stars at night, that bull who nearly made me part of the Texas landscape." Arthur raised an eyebrow as he began unpacking. "That bull was no fan of yours, Jeff. Let's stick to less lively challenges back home, okay?" "Fair enough," Jeff conceded, his eyes scanning the room, landing on a stack of mail. Among the usual bills and junk, a bright flyer stood out. With a flick of his wrist, it floated towards him, dancing in the air before settling in his hands. "Look at this, Arthur. The local theme park is looking for entertainers. What if I join them? It could be our ticket to keeping the adventures going." Arthur took the flyer, reading the fine print. "You want to go from demon cowboy to theme park entertainer. That's quite the shift." "Not just any entertainer," Jeff mused, twirling his hat on one finger. "I could bring a new flair to their haunted house. Friendly, not frightening. A demon who's more about chuckles than chills." Arthur chuckled, imagining Jeff trying to hold back his gregarious nature to fit the spooky mold. "I can see it now. Jeff, the jovial haunt of Hillcrest Park. I'll revolutionize the haunted house experience. Instead of screams, there'll be laughter. It's perfect." Deciding to dive into this head first, they sat down at their small, cluttered kitchen table. Arthur opened his laptop, and they began crafting Jeff's application. Jeff narrated his unconventional qualifications and adventures while Arthur translated them into appealing resume language. "Include that I'm excellent at interpersonal interactions," Jeff suggested with a grin. "And don't forget my stint as a cowboy. Shows I can handle tough crowds and... bulls." Arthur typed, occasionally editing Jeff's more eccentric suggestions. "Got it. Skilled in diverse environments and managing dynamic situations. That should cover everything from underworld escapades to cowboy crises." As night fell, the glow from the laptop screen illuminated their focused faces. They paused, reflecting on their journey so far and the odd yet exciting path ahead. Finishing up, Jeff looked more determined than ever. "This isn't just about the job, Arthur. It's about bringing a bit of our wildlife into the everyday, making the mundane magical." Arthur nodded, impressed by Jeff's earnestness. "Then let's make sure they see just how extraordinary you are. Who wouldn't want a demon with a heart of gold and a hat full of tricks?" With a resume that only they could dream up, Jeff was ready to take on the theme park with his signature blend of charm and chaos. Whatever lay ahead, it promised to keep their spirit of adventure alive, one laugh and surprise at a time. The day of the audition dawned clear and bright, a perfect backdrop for what Jeff hoped would be his debut into the world of theme park entertainment. He and Arthur arrived early at Hillcrest Park, the local theme park known for its eclectic blend of attractions and its willingness to embrace the unconventional. Jeff, clad in a smart yet slightly quirky outfit that balanced his demonic features with approachable charm, practiced his smile in the car mirror. "Do you think they're ready for this much charisma?" he joked, adjusting his collar. Arthur, who had taken on the unofficial role of manager, gave him a thumbs up. They walked through the bustling park, passing excited children and intrigued adults, all unaware of the unique addition that might soon join the park's lineup. Reaching the administrative offices, they found a small crowd of other hopefuls, none as unique as Jeff. Inside, the audition room was set up with a stage for performances and a table for the judges. Jeff's name was called, and with a reassuring pat from Arthur, he stepped up, his heart beating a rhythm of mixed nerves and excitement. "Good morning," Jeff greeted, his voice booming with a touch too much enthusiasm. The judges, a park manager, a creative director, and a seasoned performer, looked taken aback but intrigued. Good morning, the manager replied, glancing at his application. You're Jeff, the demon? That's right, Jeff said, flourishing a bow. I'm here to show you how a demon can light up your haunted house with smiles and good cheer. The creative director, a woman with a keen eye for potential, leaned forward. That's quite an unusual pitch. Let's see what you've got. Jeff launched into his routine, a series of anecdotes from his travels with Arthur, infused with a touch of magic, small illusions that made his stories come alive. He recounted a comically exaggerated tale of their Texas adventure, careful to keep the humor light and the scares minimal. The judges watched, a mixture of amusement and confusion playing across their faces. When Jeff concluded his act with a playful, "And that's how you do a haunted house Texas style," the room erupted in cautious applause. The manager cleared his throat. Well, Jeff, that was certainly different. I have to admit, you're not what we typically look for in our haunted house, but your approach is refreshingly unique. The performer at the table, an older man with years of scaring under his belt, chuckled. Kid, you've got guts, and not in the way we usually see them in the haunted house. The creative director nodded thoughtfully. I think you could be just the twist we need. A friendly demon could be a hit, especially around Halloween. It's unexpected, and it could draw a crowd. Jeff's eyes lit up, his earlier nerves replaced by the thrill of acceptance. You won't regret this, he promised, almost bouncing off the stage in his excitement. As they left the audition room, Arthur clapped Jeff on the back. Looks like you're going to be Hillcrest Park's first jovial haunt. Haunt, entertainer, call it what you will, Jeff said, his spirits soaring. I'm just excited to add a little Jeff-style magic to their Halloween season. Together, they walked out into the park, already discussing ideas for Jeff's new role, the path ahead shimmering with the promise of new adventures. Jeff's first day at Hillcrest Park arrived, brimming with the kind of excitement that could charge the autumn air with sparks of anticipation. He had spent the previous night tossing and turning, his mind swirling with ideas and scenarios for his debut as the park's first friendly demon. Arthur drove him to the park, the morning fog still clinging to the ground like a shroud. As they walked toward the haunted house attraction, the park buzzed around them. Children darted past, pulling parents toward cotton candy stands, while thrill seekers lined up at the roller coasters, their excited chatter filling the air. At the staff entrance of the haunted house, they were greeted by Maria, the attraction manager. Ah, Jeff, we've heard a lot about you. Ready to shake things up? She asked with a wry smile. Absolutely, Maria. I can't wait to get started, Jeff replied, his enthusiasm infectious. Maria led them through the dimly lit corridors of the haunted house, the walls adorned with eerie portraits and fake cobwebs. Most of our actors are in place. Your spot will be in the Victorian parlor. It's usually a high scare area, but we're excited to see how your friendly approach changes the atmosphere. Jeff's Victorian parlor was dramatically decorated with antique furniture and draped with heavy velvet curtains. A faux fireplace flickered with orange light, casting ghostly shadows. This is perfect, Jeff said, running his hand over a dusty armchair. As the doors opened to the public, Jeff took his position. The first group entered, a mix of wary adults and wide-eyed kids. Welcome, dear guests, to the friendliest haunt you've ever encountered, Jeff boomed, his voice a warm welcome rather than a sinister whisper. The visitors paused, taken aback by the congenial greeting. Jeff flourished a dramatic bow and began recounting a ghost story with a twist. It was about a ghost who lost his scare and decided to become a poet. His tale was interspersed with light-hearted jokes and playful teasing of the ghostly figures hidden in the room. The group left chuckling and chatting about the comedian ghost, their smiles a reward that filled Jeff with pride. Maria, watching from the doorway, nodded in approval, her earlier skepticism melting away. As the day progressed, Jeff refined his routine. He introduced props, a tattered book of ghost poems, and a spectral hat that he playfully placed on visitors' heads as he dubbed them honorary ghosts. His room became a highlight of the haunted house, with guests leaving with laughter echoing down the corridor. Arthur, who had been watching from the back, joined Jeff during a break. "You're a hit, Jeff. They love you." Jeff grinned, wiping his brow. Who knew being friendly could be so exhausting? But you're right. It's working. They're not just scared. They're happy. As evening fell, Jeff and Arthur walked through the park, reflecting on the day. The haunted house had drawn more visitors than usual, with people specifically asking for the friendly demons room. Jeff felt a deep satisfaction in turning what was traditionally a place of fear into a source of joy. Imagine what we could do next, Jeff mused, his mind already racing with possibilities. Maybe by Halloween we could expand the concept. More rooms, more stories, more laughs. Arthur laughed, his arm around Jeff's shoulder. "One step at a time, buddy, but I think you're onto something big. Hillcrest Park won't know what hit it." Their conversation trailed off as they watched the sunset over the park, the sky painted in strokes of orange and purple. The day had been a resounding success, and as the stars began to twinkle in the twilight, Jeff felt more at home than ever, his heart as full as the moon rising above. As the weeks rolled by, Jeff's fame at Hillcrest Park grew exponentially. Word of the friendly demon who could make even the bravest souls laugh in the face of fear had spread far beyond the local crowd. Visitors came from neighboring towns, drawn by tales of the haunted house that wasn't quite like any other. Jeff had indeed revolutionized the attraction, turning it into a must-see event. Maria, the attraction manager, was thrilled. "You've outdone yourself, Jeff," she said one evening as they reviewed the day's feedback. The comments were glowing, with many praising Jeff's unique blend of humor and spookiness. "We're seeing repeat visitors, and it's all thanks to your creative approach." Jeff, clad in his now signature costume, which he had tweaked with small whimsical additions like glowing buttons and a cloak that shimmered with hidden patterns, smiled broadly. "I'm just happy to bring a bit of light to the darkness," he quipped. His success had not only made the haunted house a hit, but also boosted his confidence in his role as an entertainer. Arthur, ever the supportive friend, helped Jeff expand his act. Together, they crafted new stories and jokes, even incorporating interactive elements where guests could participate in mini-skits. "It's like we're building a community of happy haunts," Arthur observed one afternoon as they prepared for another bustling weekend. With Halloween approaching, the park decided to capitalize on the popularity of Jeff's act by launching a special event titled Night of Laughs and Frights, with Jeff as the star. Posters featuring a cartoonish depiction of Jeff with a wide grin and a friendly wink were plastered all over the park and shared on social media. The night of the event was electric. The park was decked out in festive decorations that straddled the line between spooky and whimsical. Jeff felt a flutter of nerves mixed with excitement as he looked out at the gathering crowd. "This is it," he murmured to Arthur, who was adjusting his makeshift stage manager hat. "You're gonna knock 'em dead," Arthur said with a grin, giving Jeff a reassuring pat on the back. As the show began, Jeff took to the stage with a flourish, welcoming the crowd with his booming voice and infectious enthusiasm. He launched into his routine, a mix of ghostly tales spun with humor and the occasional gentle scare that had children giggling and adults chuckling. Midway through the event, Jeff invited audience members to share their spookiest experiences, which he then spun into humorous anecdotes on the spot. The interaction was a hit, further endearing him to the crowd. As the night drew to a close, Jeff ended with a heartfelt thank you to the audience, his voice tinged with genuine emotion. "Each laugh we share lights up the night a little more," he said. "And in these times, what could be more important than that?" The applause was thunderous, echoing through the park long after the lights dimmed. After the guests had left, Maria joined Jeff and Arthur, her expression one of awe and pride. "You've set a new standard tonight, Jeff. Thank you for bringing your magic to Hillcrest Park." As they walked under the starlit sky, Arthur nudged Jeff playfully. "So, what's next for our superstar? More haunted houses or maybe a comedy tour?" Jeff laughed, his eyes twinkling. "Who knows? The world's a big place, and I think it could use a few more friendly demons." Together, they headed towards the exit, their steps light and hearts full, ready for whatever new adventures awaited them beyond the gates of Hillcrest Park. Jeff had not only found a job, but had created a legacy of laughter and light in the most unexpected of places.